Alright guys, today with a new video we're gonna talk a little bit about the Grim Forest, the new content that was released. Is in its first rotation, and I know that most people have already checked it out, but I actually have a surprising amount that is still waiting to dip their toes in, which I think have a lot with new content, that people are at the beginning a little bit more anxious and they are trying to just wait so that they see how other people figure it out. And well, while there is still a lot of stuff to discover, especially when it comes to the new bosses and everything, there are definitely a couple of tips when you take your first steps in the content that are kind of important. And I gotta admit, I actually really like it a lot. I was pretty skeptical when they started to release it and talk about it, but so far I've been enjoying it, and it's probably the favorite thing that I currently do in the game. So it's been a lot of fun, but there are definitely a couple of things that you can pay attention to, a couple of little tricks that you can also use as well. And I think a lot of that will be important as we're moving on to the second phase, because especially when it comes to deck building, there's of course a lot of things that are now being discovered where you might have to put a different emphasis on some of the champions that you put in, some of the ones that you leave out. So there's really a lot to learn from the first rotation. And in today's video I just want to speak a little bit about my personal experience. I played it on 2 accounts so far, my main account and my free-to-play account. And we're gonna look specifically at my free-to-play account right now, and there's just gonna be a few tips on what to do and how to deal with it. When you're starting things off with the Grim Forest, one of the most important things is the team decks that you set up. Again, this is on my free-to-play account right now. And you basically set up 2 teams, and then at the start of every single battle that you take, you are just simply drawing from those 2 teams a random, well, not a random amount of champions, but random champions, and then you have to choose from them. So one of the strategies that most people actually employed so far, and that has worked out for me quite as well too, is that you use one of the decks to just put your damage dealers in, and then on the second deck you're dealing with all of your supports. Now obviously, this being my free-to-play account, it's a lot less developed than my actual main account, so I have a little fewer things to play around with. I'm playing this currently on the free-to-play account on easy, and on the main account on hard. The number of champions that you have to push into the 2 decks then changes. In this case it's 10 per deck. On the main account, when you're playing hard, it's then 20, so there's a lot more wiggle room to deal with. So this is definitely one of the things that I'll probably continue doing unless somebody comes up with something that makes a lot more sense, but for now this is working quite nicely. I have all of my revivers, for example, on one side, I have a lot of the damage dealers on the other, and if I can't fill one of the slots 100%, then I just use a couple utility champions that I could theoretically use in both and fill it up that way. But this way you will always have a couple of decent damage dealers at hand, and you always will have a couple of really nice revivers and supports that you can choose from. So this is already one of the more important things. When talking about the content in general, you're starting with the map and you're just slowly exploring it. The one thing that I would generally advise is that you avoid bosses and all of these things at the beginning as much as you can. The reason is actually quite simple. At the beginning you will have none of these trade cards. You will have very few of these curio slots. That's basically like items that you can find. They start at a 1-star ranking. If you find them again, they upgrade to a 2-star, to a 3-star, and it all gives you boni. So if you look at the stats bonus that I have currently, we're looking at 35% HP on this one. We're looking at 22 speed. And you get those as you're progressing from one stage to another. If you are finding bosses that you can easily take down, then hey, by all means go for them. But especially when we're talking about the big new bosses, that's something that I would probably avoid for now. Now there are a lot of stages that you can see where you have, for example, like here, we have one mythical champion that acts as a boss on the 3rd stage. We can just draw champions real quickly just so you see how the process works. So you go into the stage, you draw your champions, then you have the champions available that you can choose from. You have to confirm that afterwards, or you can redraw, but you only have a certain amount of tokens for that, so I would avoid that wherever you can. Then you confirm that, and out of those champions you now essentially build your deck for that particular stage. So that's a general principle. But as you're moving through the Grim Forest, you're starting to pick up experience. Essentially, you're leveling your squad up. And as you level, you can pick all of these cards here. So there's a lot of cards that get presented to you. You should always go for the highest rarity that you get. Sometimes, for example, well, when you get to choose cards, it's always going to be 3. And you have to pick one of them. Sometimes you get 2 uncommon and 1 rare. In this case, go for the rare. It just gives you the best boosts of your stats. Stats that I would personally prioritize is speed. First and foremost, that helps you with pretty much anything, and then afterwards we're talking about HP, accuracy, resistance, so all of that can be quite helpful, but you can obviously deal with this to your own personal preferences. And then we have again these curios. At the end of the day, these are just nice little tools that you can see here. I'm actually gonna jump real quickly on the other side of the screen so that you can read that too. And yeah, that basically gives you additional boni. So what you want to do is you want to find these altars, the curio altars, and you want to get more trade cards. So before you go into any big battle, I would recommend just explore the map. It doesn't really cost you anything. There's a lot of easy stages around. Everything that is green is the easiest. Then you have the yellow ones. Those are a little bit harder. And you have a lot of red stages as well. They are a lot harder. So essentially you want to, at the beginning, just start exploring everything that's green. Maybe take a green boss down or something. Explore the map. Find some of those altars as well. And then use that to your advantage, because as you're starting to level up your squad progress and you're getting all of these cards, as you're getting all those curios and the curio slots more importantly, your entire thing becomes stronger and stronger and stronger, and that helps you to tackle content later. So I wouldn't go in and try and take a boss down over and over again that you might not be able to beat. All of the difficult content you should tackle a little bit later with the help of all those passive boni that you are going to get through it. Now, with that being said, two things that you will find actually a lot is, for example, mimics. And mimics are one of the things that you have to really think about a little bit on how you approach them. We're going to go over one battle in just a moment. But one of the important things is that a mimic essentially eats one of your champions at the start. And the mimic will always eat the champion that has the highest crit damage. Now, there's a couple of ways how to deal with this. Generally speaking, you want to have a lot of damage dealers here, because you need to burst that thing down and you want to do lots of damage there. So normally I take 4 damage dealers and 1 support. That's traditionally more than enough. So once that it eats one of them, I have 3 available, I have 1 support, and that's that. There are obviously a couple of buffs and debuffs that are quite important here, and that's also one of the reasons why I generally recommend that you wait until you have boni unlocked, because the more speed you have, the better. If you have some decreased speed for the boss, it's fantastic, and an increased speed for yourself. But probably the most important thing, and we're going to point that out in the battle in just a moment, is that you get a heal reduction if you have it. Now, in my case, I have it on my Archmage Pintroy here, so heal reduction champions should be something that you prioritize in the lineup that you use, generally speaking, for this. So I'm just going to target the boss here. I let this auto run the entire time. Not ideal, don't get me wrong. For example, I don't need my heal reduction on the first turn. But again, this is just to showcase this a little bit. So right here, I have one champion that gets immediately eaten, but I'm going to target the boss down. There's going to be a little bit of back and forth here. But the idea is that either you have to out-damage the boss very, very heavily, because he has an automated heal by 25% if you don't have that heal reduction every single turn that he gets. So this is actually going to be a little bit tough to beat if you don't have enough DPS. It's kind of a DPS check. If you have something like an Akrisha, then that helps obviously. Any max damage is always nice in a situation like this, but you don't necessarily need it. And specifically, when you have a heal reduction, that can already help you quite a ton. Blessings are obviously useful as well. You can use a couple of those there. But generally speaking, get some damage dealers in, get 1 supporter in. If you have somebody, a damage dealer that also gets you a lot of leech, or you have some lifesteal gear, then I suppose you can even do without that added support and you can just go raw damage. But this is definitely one of the bosses that gives you a lot of resources and it gives you a lot of rewards. So you should always try to take those down whenever you can. But you don't have to prioritize it too hard. That, by the way, was really bad. I ran this earlier and stopped it before I won. But now I'm probably going to lose, because him dying there, that's a problem. That's going to screw my entire run up, because now he's going to eat an additional champion. And I'm not so sure that with that I still have the damage output here. So yeah, this kind of backfired a little bit on me. Murphy's Law and all. I actually cancelled this run earlier, just before I finished it, because I was like, okay, this is working, let's just showcase that. Maybe it still works, we'll find out. But you get the general idea. So when you draft your deck, please keep the heal reduction in mind. I definitely didn't on my main account. I have a couple of champions that are pretty decent with heal reduction, but generally speaking, I could have done a lot better there. And will, for the next time, just add some of my support champions in particular in that have a heal reduction, just so I can play through the mimics a little bit more reliably. So far it's still working out, but it made some of the stages a lot more difficult than they actually needed to be. And I think I might actually just be lucky enough to burn this one down. Yeah, now the heal reduction kicks in, and yeah, we're going to be good shape. So we're going to get this one. So yeah, Mimics, again, you'll find plenty of them, so make sure to take them down, but you can tackle them a little bit later if you have initially some problems, and you get a lot of good resources. You get a lot of stuff for relics, and there's some really awesome relics out there right now that you can get through the Grim Forest rewards. So this is definitely something to prioritize. In this case, we also have a squad level up, so that's great. So I can show you also how the trade cards work. So in this case, all of them are rare. I personally would always then go for a speed card. So that means that I have either the one in the middle, or I get the Death Hound Hunt. And attack, honestly, is not that much of a priority for me. For me, it's more survivability that's really important on the account here. So I take the extra defense, and then obviously the 3 speed. But all of this, again, super helpful later. You get a couple of chests like this as well. In this case, for example, I get one of the curios that I talked about earlier. I had it already, so now I'm ranking it up. And those things are also super helpful. So just explore it a little bit, have some fun with it, play through a couple of the stages, and yeah, just experiment with it. It's been really nice content, it's actually super fun, and you can do a lot, but keep the few tips in mind that I already gave you earlier around what to draft, how to draft your 2 cards if you haven't done it yet, and how to tackle some of the bosses that you see here. But definitely awesome content that they added so far. I'm sure they're going to make some adjustments in the future, but for now I've been enjoying it quite a lot. And obviously with the vendor here, then also a couple of options on things to buy once that you have enough stuff. I gotta admit that I also used my free-to-play account here as a little bit of an exploration zone, so that I know what to do when I then jump onto the main account, but both have been actively playing this now. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So thanks guys for watching. If you took anything from that, it would be awesome if you could give the video a like. And obviously if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do that. If you have any questions, anything that you would like me to follow up on, drop a comment into the comment section. And I'm going to be happy to talk a little bit more about those topics in particular. So once again, thanks for watching guys, and see you in the next one.